Western women are the most privileged group in the history of humanity. Living in the West, specifically the United States of America, confers certain privileges to those that do.
That to an extent applies to everyone. I myself included am privileged for having lived in the West. For the definition of privilege, I'll go with a special advantage, immunity, permission, right, or benefit granted to or enjoyed by an individual class or caste. So, a good example I like to say when I'm talking to my friends is I consider it a privilege to have them in my life. It's not something that is taken for granted, and I do understand them spending that time with me means they're not spending time with someone else. So it's kind of a privilege in that sense. And another basic one is having running water. And I don't want to go into the what I consider fabricated privileges of male privilege or white privilege in general, even though this may be titled white female privilege. That's pretty much just to get the clicks. But while we are on the topic of the title, any discrepancy that you see that is brought up to show the racism between whites and blacks is actually far more pronounced when you look at discrepancies between females and males. For example, in the sentencing gap, a female and a male commit the same crime, who gets sentenced more?
But if you divide the groups in general to males and females, who has it better? Who does the culture cater to? I would have to say women. Is this inherently a bad thing? No. On the contrary, it makes evolutionary sense. Any life form that did not prioritize reproduction did not make it that far. In the sexually dimorphic species that we are, females have and still are in control of reproduction. Men propose and women dispose. Now, I'm of course using generalizations in this thing, in this video, and generalizations are useful. We have to make, okay, we don't have to, but we make generalizations, and then at least I make generalizations, and then I deal with situations on an individual basis. So, back to what I was saying. Too much of anything can be bad. And again, we are a sexually dimorphic species, so male and female. I am more certain that the warfare state is the result of male energy gone out of control, and the welfare state is the result of female energy unbounded. If we focus too much on one, we will be hurt by the lack of the other. Now, these energies I'm talking about are the general biological drives that we have.
This goes beyond gender roles, as in thinking of what a man or a woman should do in different cultures. This goes down to the actual biological differences and biological roles that the males and females played in our evolutionary environment. So you can discuss why this happened, but when it came to the actual facts of it, the females tended to be at home taking care of the welfare of the home environment, and the males were tasked with going outside of the home, securing the area, getting more resources, and obtaining more territory. So, what do these two energies look like when they're out of control? With warfare, it encourages the male to go out and overact on these very natural and healthy instincts that they have and try to obtain a lot more territory than is needed or constantly feel that they're under threats that are not really threats. So, whereas with males it's a lack of measurement, with females I would say it was a lack of bounding. It manifests in a way that they don't really have an accurate idea of the limitations of what they should really care for or of what kind of resources they should expect to be provided to them. Now, not just resources provided, but justifiably provided to them. As in, if we agree that I'm going to give you a pencil, you give me $1, I expect $1 there. It's not a negative thing. But what I feel has gone way out of control is there's a lot more energy on expecting things and not enough focus put on what those things are, let's admit it, a payment for.
So, where does this come from? And I think, for me personally, a lot of things go back to childhood. I was just talking to a friend about this. How did I find myself making videos like this, talking about topics like this? It was analyzing my own life and then going back to realize where where were my biases from? Where were my general, what did I like and dislike about certain things? Where was the point where I came up with my own decisions? Where was the point when I might have been indoctrinated into other things? And I kept looking back. Was it in my time in university, in college? Was it in high school? Was it in my preteen days? And I kept going back, and I realized this goes all the way back to birth, to your first, to when you were born. Even now, I've found out that some of these things actually go to even before you're born, to the stress and hormones that your mother may be feeling, or a lot of things. So there's a lot of things that go into this, but let's just focus on after you're born. And I feel there was a time when there was helicopter parenting, where you micromanage, where the parent micromanages every aspect of the child's life. And society in general has come to agree that is that has many negative results. So possibly in reaction to this, a pendulum swing kind of to the other direction is an increase of acquiescing to every whim of the child. You know, that whole radical deschooling or deparenting where they just trust in the inner child to know what's best for them, when it's not true. They're children. So if your parents let you do anything you wanted, anytime you wanted to do it, then they're failing at preparing you for the very real limitations present in the world. You get older and you find that you're unable to accurately gauge your abilities and have expectations that are vastly mismatched to reality. There's this YouTuber, Turd Flinging Monkey, and some other sources have said that women are essentially children. If the difference between being a child and an adult is granting and recognizing agency for one's actions, then I would safely say that all vocal feminists identify as children or create the archetype of women that is essentially a child. And this is something I've touched on in the previous video I did about the Fearless Girl statue in New York City, or the general continuation of the usage of the term girl, especially when related to things that ostensibly should be dealing with women, which are female human adults. So, in that sense, if you have this situation where these certain females identify both themselves and other females as children in society, who would the parents be? That would have to be men. So, that's the counterpoint to this situation. Now, how much of what we see today with these end the patriarchy, stop mansplaining, just the general angst and anger that they truly feel. I mean, with some of these cases, I don't think you can say they're pretending. You don't behave in certain ways. At least I don't think somebody could behave to that certain way without actually believing what they're. I mean, you actually have to have an incentive. So even if it's a reason to pretend, let's say you're acting, let's say this is an actor. What is the reason for the actor to do what they want to do? Yeah, they're being paid, they're reading a script, but they still have to believe it's worthwhile to do before they do that. Now, do you think most of these people are acting? From my experience, no, they're not acting. Like, just the last video I did, this Antifa person went out there and got punched in the face. But she was also throwing bottles, she was talking about getting Nazi scalps, and proudly posting this on social media. And that's the aspect, I think that's one aspect that is forgotten here. How proud these people are about this. If you're hiding something, if you're doing something you're unsure of, you are not as proud and open about your beliefs and your intentions as these people are. Where does this come from? Why would they get to this point? I think a lot of this is the realization that many men have been two women, or many males have been two females in Western society, in developed society, like that absent parent. You know, they've been spoiling females and acquiescing to their every demand and whim. Just as males can walk away from marriage and relationships due to the lack of reciprocation or complementary value, then wouldn't women also walk away from men from the lack of the traditionally male behavior? And now, as I say this, remember, I truly believe that societies do cater to reproduction. Life forms cater to reproduction, which means there's a symbiotic relationship here, there's a complementary relationship here, but I think it's more led towards what the female wants. So where exactly does this switch come where it's like, okay, what are the men allowing, or what are the men reinforcing, then what are the women increasing? But there's a tie there that I could go in deeper into other situations, into other videos. How about this for a hypothesis? If you look at the state, which can be multiple things, I think the belief in the state goes to a religious sense. It's almost like a statism type of religion. Or you can also think of the state as an organism, as the ultimate alpha. So the society the state is creating as the alpha will cater to reproducing what it considers to be the best offspring for the state, for the maintenance of the state to continue it's a life form, so it wants to reproduce. So the children that are raised in this environment, the alpha state, the alpha position held by this kind of, it is manned mostly by males. So they could have that sense where they feel that, and not just feel, because in some cases, very accurately, the state's involvement reduces the involvement of the fathers in raising families. So they could transfer this idea of, or this observance that males have been in this role of, on this role of abandonment. That they can actually feel they have been abandoned by males, and then they look into it and they see, okay, why is this actually happening? Then they look at the state and they see that the state, most of the people in these positions of power are males, and they don't really take it as far to the point where they see these males are also catering to females' needs, and they also have, I think, some secondary defense to going that far, because when you're in that case, you're being raised by females, and growing up as a life form, you have to kind of rationalize that whatever is giving you your direct nourishment and shelter is a positive thing. So it's kind of hard to look at the female in this sense. And also, again, that welfare state versus the warfare. These are general natures that I think we understand and see innately. It's just part of us. Okay, so I'm going to end on that random mix of things. There's going to be links in the low bar. There's a few things that got me to think of this post. One of them is just the Files, Fiamengo Files, Sons of Feminism. This is by Dr. Janice Fiamengo, who I continue to have a massive crush on from just her mind and passion in the things she does. She was talking about how male and female expressions of despair differ. Then there was this horrible story I saw about a geography teacher who was cleared for accusation of raping a pupil, and he was saying men should stay away from teaching. And now I'm thinking, like, this teaching environment.
I've been thinking about this for some time. Now, since we're not going to end public schools tomorrow, it's not even feasible, even if you wanted to.
Now that you still have co-ed schools, how about at least have segregated classes by genders? Just have teachers, even if you were hanging out in the same school, in the same building, like during recess, between classes, you can still interact, lunchtime, whatnot. But during the classrooms, just have it be boys and girls in different classrooms. I don't see the big problem with that. And the last one, going back on the way males and females express themselves, was this thing, this body language video on Mohammed, the sixth king of Morocco, ignoring Robert Mugabe, the president of Zimbabwe. They kind of had this jostling thing together, this the body language thing. The woman who was doing this study, who was doing this video, was commenting on how this is a general thing that males do, but if you saw it with females, they would act in an entirely different way. Okay, so that's it for now. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe, and talk to you later. Bye.